Not even be bright yet. Okay. All right, folks. We are continuing with chapter 29. Chapter 29 in one word. For those who recall from yesterday, mevachin means to splinter, or better yet, to make humble. We are speaking about the Beinani, and all of us who are Beinani in training. The Beinani who has, as we know, mastery over thought, speech, and action. But not like a tzaddik, a righteous individual. A righteous individual has dealt with the negative side, transformed it, and therefore, like Hillel the elder, went to do a favor for his body by feeding it, because he felt it secondary to him, his physical reality. By us, our physical reality and our animal soul is who we are naturally. Of course, we have a deeper part in us, and that's our godly soul. But naturally, what is our first response to any given situation will, for the most part, be the animal soul, because that's the one that is self-directed. That's the one that we're more attuned to. That's the one that came first. The godly soul was put there together with it. And therefore, it is the real person. I don't know, the real person, not the right word, but it's the what's the right words to put here? It's your first responder. It's your first reaction will come from there. Therefore, someone who really wants to own their lives and to really improve themselves, and this is chapter 29 after you've dealt with 28 chapters before this, so you want to humble the nature of that soul and the body. It has its own agenda. It's self-directed. It's pleasure-seeking. It's comfort-seeking. It is selfish. And selfish doesn't mean doing bad things. It could be doing wonderful things, but to fulfill the self, filling up self. And therefore, the Beinani wants to humble its nature and not allow it to kind of control the natural attitude of the Beinani. Now, remember, the Beinani is not going to allow it to actually behave based on the body and animal soul. It won't allow it. But the fact is, it does respond, or it does give its judgment, it gives its opinion at all times. In order to humble it, that opinion, this is what the Beinani is trying to do at this point. And why is he doing it? Because he's got a dullness of heart. The heart is not being responsive to prayer, to feeling connected. And therefore, there's a desire of the Beinani who wants to really, again, this is a complete ownership of humbling that part within the Beinani. Now, what we're going to deal with now is a strong language. And that's why, as I say, there's 28 chapters before this. I don't suggest anybody really work on this unless they have a strong awareness and connection, commitment, and have done the steps, the 28 steps before this. If you've done the steps before this, then you're coming to this, then you're in a good place. You're in a good space. But if you haven't, and you're hearing this now, it may be too much. So I'm forewarning. I am forewarning, because the language is very strong, that the Beinani is having a conversation. Beinani is having a conversation. They're having a conversation with themselves in order to humble the nature of the body and the animal soul. And what is the conversation? Is as follows. I am very removed from God. Now, is the Beinani truly removed from God from a objective perspective? Obviously not. Beinani has got perfect behavior of thought, speech, and action. But the Beinoni is not interested in that. The Beinoni wants to grow and wants to move forward, and therefore owning to such a degree that conversation to themselves, not directed to anybody else, not thinking this way about anybody else, but to themselves. And what's it? I'm removed. I'm really removed from God. Why? Because I've got temptation. I've got this temptation in me for things that are wayward, things that are lustful, things that are even forbidden. In the end, doesn't give into it. Okay, but I still have that. Not to blame. The alternative is going to deal with that later. But that's not the point over here. It's not about blame game over here. It's about change game. And we have to really change our perspective on things. We're so into the blame game. It's got nothing to do with blaming. It's got to do with a reality of changing. And therefore, so it's not what he's to blame. What's he to blame? He's got a lustful, he's not a tzaddik. Not the issue. The issue is really wanting change. So you're really wanting change. It's not about blame. It's about looking at myself and saying, I am remote from God because I have these lustful desires and these drives within me. And I'm even capable of lusting for forbidden things. Again, well, doesn't practice it, but still has it within. And therefore the Beinoni is having conversation in themselves. Again, why? To humble, to bring down that log that a fire can't consume it. So you have to splinter the log. So here you have to humble the animal soul, the body, in order that the inner love of God that is right now being dulled should be generated, should be revealed. So further, the Beinoni in the conversation to themselves is saying, I'm more loathsome than even an unclean animal, an insect, but I am a worm and not a man, quoting from King David. Worse than God's, creepy crawlers. Again, objectively, is this person worthy? Obviously not. The whole world was created for this, for us. So not objectively. This is there a truth to this? On a certain level, there's a truth to this. Because the worm is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. But me, not. And therefore I want to change, not blame, change. Even though the Beinoni, during their prayers, there's a strong attachment to God. And he says, yeah, it's not real. It goes. It leaves. It doesn't stay. Conversation continues, especially when I think about the sins of youth. And that even though the sins of youth were perhaps a long time ago, however, they affect in the supernal world, contaminate in the supernal worlds, make a blemish in the supernal worlds, and on that level, it's timeless. It's true. He says to himself, I've done tshuva on it. I've repented. I've repented. So what's the issue? Well, maybe because of my heart is not responsive now, and there's a what's it called? A dullness of heart. Because of that dullness, so therefore my tshuva has not completely been accepted. Or it's like this onion. There's many layers to an onion. There's many layers to our heart. So I've done tshuva on maybe certain outer layers, or maybe even middle layers, but there's the inner core. I haven't done tshuva. And therefore, owning his life, and wanting to change. That's the key over here, to change. Therefore, says to himself, I haven't, I need a deeper tshuva, a stronger repentance, even though I've repented for the sins of youth. But there's always a deeper level of the heart. There's many layers of the heart, just like the onion. And with this end concludes today's class. The Alter Rebbe says, this is what King David said, Chatasi lenegdi sammi, that my sins are before me at all times. Not before me like this, not like this, but before me at a distance. I know that I've done tshuva on some layers in my heart, but there's other layers of the heart that I can dig deeper. And by the way, we see that in our lives. If you've ever dealt with something that you needed to fix, at one point you fixed it on a certain level, but then you mature, you grow, you get closer to God, and then you recognize that there's deeper level in my soul that needs fixing, that needs change, deeper level in my heart that I've reached because I've grown, and now I need to change on that level. That's the conversation the Beinoni is having. They're having with themselves in order to create real change, to humble the body's agenda that is self-directed, the animal soul that desires what it desires, in order to allow the divine soul to emerge, which will be ultimately a greater joy, which we'll come to when we get there. Not yet. There's more in the conversation. There's more in the change. Again, it's not the blame game. That's about reward and punishment. When you are only care about what you get from God, and that you don't get punishment and you get a reward, so then it's, well, I'm not to blame. Then it's got nothing to do about the relationship. It's got nothing to do about getting closer to God. It's just about what I get from God. Our human relations can also be that way. And that's a problem. Whereas if you truly, desire that connection and deeper connection, so then it's about a change. And this is strong language over here. And therefore, only if you have worked on yourself and have used the previous chapters in living, not learning Tanya, but living Tanya, then this can be a step also in your life. Otherwise, don't try, because you're not there yet. Not there yet. All right. Who do we miss hello to? Hope I didn't scare anybody off today. Just know we have deeper levels of the heart that we can fix. And if we're ready to go there, it could be, not so sweet. But actually, when you really are honest and ready for that change, what happens when you get to the outer layer is more bitter. As you get closer, sweeter. All right, from Belgrade, Hara. I'm sure I got that wrong. Eleanor, good afternoon to you in the Netherlands. Andrea in New Jersey, good morning. Jane, Boker Tov to you in Illinois. Lizbel, hello. Jotha from Brazil, good morning. Robert from Boston, shalom. Susan is with us, good morning. Valmir, shalom. Me, somewhere in Brazil. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Patty is with us from New Jersey, good morning. Marjorie from Dania Beach, Florida, welcome. Marta from California. Yan from Mexico. Hadassah is with us from Brazil. Tim from Texas, Boker Tov. Erica from Norway, good afternoon. And Jean is with us from Alabama. Shalom. Anna, shalom. Linda from Nebraska, Boker Tov. John from North Carolina, I think. Marty, thank you for joining. Jean, the eyes of Hashem. Sorry, Jean. No such thing as someone is unworthy, unforgivable. That doesn't work with God. Might work with a court of law, but not with God. We have layers of the heart that we can get deeper and deeper. And no, everybody, God can and will forgive. I mean, not if we pay lip service to something. We really mean it. Reza, shalom. Paul from New York, shalom. Lawrence, thank you. Andrea from Indonesia, thank you for joining. Kate, Katya, Ashley, good morning. And Batya, there's a difference between living and learning when you've worked. Yes, exactly. There's no arriving. There's only the journey. Many layers to the heart. From San Antonio, Texas, Vasquez. Thank you, Lawrence. Sigalit. Thank you for sharing, Sigalit. Oh, okay. Clean action, nice day. Miriam. All right, folks. We have a Farbringen here every day. Chassidic gathering, and we're not even saying L'chaim. Powerful stuff the Alter Rebbe is giving us in our lives. How lucky we are that that somehow God Almighty had compassion and brought you to learn, and hopefully through learning, living the teachings of Tanya. And if you are really thankful, you got to share it and pay it forward. Pay it forward means either sharing the class, sharing literally what you've learned with another person, and of course, most importantly, that we take it to heart and we live it. A reminder of the 1-minute synopsis of each day's class that you can get on Tanya Rabbi, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. More places soon to come. And that's it for today. More to come. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, Company of Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Erev Rosh Chodesh. It's the eve of Rosh Chodesh, the new month. 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, tomorrow and Wednesday. The month of Adar is coming, month of joy. When Shenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha, when Adar enters, we increase in joy. And that's where we're coming with all this, ultimately, not to be in this place of, of the ownership and digging deeper. We need to go there to ultimately come to a greater joy. And that's the month that we're coming to. And Purim, of course, that we need to get ready for Purim to celebrate. That will be in 2 weeks, God willing. Have a wonderful day.